This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Thursday, March 30th, 2023. We're so glad you could join us for today's show. And in today's episode, I will visit with Kevin McNew. He is the Chief Economist for Farmers Business Network. But first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined now by Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net for our closing market analysis. Robin, what did we see on the grain markets today?
We really didn't see a whole lot of movement in the grain markets. I mean, we closed slightly lower on corn and beans, more pressure on the wheat, soybean meal a little bit higher. We did have export sales out this morning, and the market really didn't reflect what the export sales said. Corn was at 40.8 million bushels. It was actually down 67% from a week ago, or from the previous week. That's for the 22-23 crop year. Soybeans were up. They were at 12.8 million bushels. They were up 36% from last week, and wheat was 5.6 million bushels, up 21% from the previous week for the 22-23 crop year. Now, you would have thought that trade maybe would have reflected a little bit more of that, but it didn't. It was actually probably more of the importance was being put on positioning ahead of the quarterly grain stocks report and the prospective plantings report, which is tomorrow, which always is looked at intently with a lot of weight. Traders put a lot of emphasis on that. So we'll see more of that positioning probably up until 11 o'clock Central Time tomorrow when that report is released. Now, the expectations on that report for greater quarterly stocks are 7.480 billion bushels for corn stocks, soybean at 1.753 billion bushels, and wheat at 928 million bushels. Now, on this prospective plantings, the average trade estimate is in at 90.8 million acres for corn, 88.2 million acres for beans, and all wheat at 48.7 million bushels. Now, there's been some wide ranges for these estimates for the corn and soybean acres, so it'll be interesting to see where that lands according to those acreage estimates, quarterly stocks estimates, and will be a driver tomorrow as we move through that report. So some people are thinking we could see a pretty volatile reaction to that report, but we'll see what the numbers say. Now, two different things that are probably noteworthy in the market. Brazil made an agreement with China now that they're going to do exports between the two countries without having to go through the US dollar. That's pretty significant, pretty noteworthy. I know China's been working on trying to get petroleum traded in the throughout other parts of the world without going through the dollar too, and that seems to be coming closer all the time now. I guess they did some exchange on the exchange, one of the exchanges, without using the dollar. So we're moving in a different direction here right now. Whether that'll have a lot of impact on the market, I really don't know if that's going to be that much of a deal, but it doesn't signal a change in how business is being done. Now, Purdue Farms, they're bringing in a load of soybeans or bringing in some soybeans from Brazil. Yeah, that's noteworthy, but they do it every year. They've got cheaper prices. They do it every year. So it's probably not a market mover as it was years ago, but it's just noteworthy to indicate that, yes, we are more expensive here than Brazilian beans on the world market, causing them to actually bring some in. Now, Brazil is actually poised to supply as much as 50% of the imports into Argentina this year. Argentina may need to import up to 10 million tons of soybeans. So Brazil is in the position where they might take up at least half of that slack in there, which could put some or reduce some of their influence and exports that'll go into the world market, but they do have bumper crops. So it's, stuff is going to move around where it needs to be. And they're right now, they've got a lot of it moving to the market at a cheaper price.
Robin, on the other side of the markets, what did we see happen with livestock today?
The expectations are for all hogs and pigs on March 1st at 100.3% of a year ago, kept for breeding at 100.6%, and kept for marketing at 100.3%. So pretty much in line with last year, a little bit higher. Of course, the trade will react relative to where it falls on one side or the other of that. But it is reflecting that we had continued 1,400 metric ton. That was down 20% from the previous week. National Direct Morning Hog reports up 2 cents, not a lot, but the cutouts are down 71 cents again. Now, in the beef side of it, exports weren't all that great, 11,300 metric ton, down 40%. But what's noteworthy is there's light cash trade took place in Kansas, $4 higher than last week, and dress trade in Nebraska, $5 higher. That's pretty substantial after seeing a little bit mixed trade last week, steady trade the week before. Now, packers need to really be looking at stepping up to the plate, and that's caused front month futures to challenge the highs, eliminating all of the downside that we saw initially, reaction to the banking situation and a retracement from an overbought situation. Now, box beef, though, didn't perform very well. At the noon report, choice down $1.04, select down 56 cents. So we did see a significant dynamic in that market that if we do see more cash trade developing yet today and tomorrow, that could be substantial and propel that market back on track to the higher levels.
Robin, thank you so much for the analysis. How can our viewers get in touch for more great information?
They can call me directly at 877-256-3253, or they can go to agmarket.net, and the phone number's on the homepage there, and they can call and talk to any of the brokers that are available.
Well, thank you for the time today, Robin. A lot of information to gather tomorrow. We look forward to that, and we'll speak with you again soon.
All right. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be on.
That was Robin Schmahl with agmarket.net for our closing analysis. Let's turn our attention now to the closing numbers, courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. May corn is down 1 even at 649.5. New crop December corn down 3.5 at 567 even. May soybeans down 2 3/4 at 1474.5. New crop November soybeans up 1 even at 1303.5. May soybean meal up $1.70 at 459.90. May soybean oil down $1.01 at 54.37. Chicago wheat down 11 3/4 at 704.5. Minneapolis wheat up 1.5 at 881 even. Kansas hard red wheat up 1 even at 858 even. July oats unchanged at 365.5. On the Merc, April live cattle up $1.72 at 167.55. April feeder cattle up $1.70 at 199.90. April lean hogs down 32 cents at 76.45. April pork cutout down 40 cents at 81.45. And Class 3 milk for March up a cent at 18.07. And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM. It's time now to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association, and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, I will visit with Kevin McNew of Farmers Business Network. This is AMPM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today I am speaking with Kevin McNew of Farmers Business Network about FBN's Planting Intentions Report. It was released earlier this week. And then I will ask Kevin about what to expect in tomorrow's USDA Prospective Plantings Report. Mark Magnuson on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Kevin McNew. He is the chief economist from Farmers Business Network, and he's here today to talk about the FBN Planting Intentions Report, which is out now. It is out ahead of Friday's release of the USDA's prospective planting report. Kevin, first of all, welcome. Thanks for joining us here today. Could you tell us about the FBN report and what we can study right now as far as the data is concerned in getting ready for Friday's report from the USDA?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mark. FBN has had a long-standing relationship with our farmers since our inception 8 years ago around, crowdsourcing their data to help them make better decisions. And this is really a case in point. This is now our third year in a row of doing this ahead of the March report. The last 2 years, we've had some surprising numbers that actually turned out to be very directionally correct. And I will, tell your viewers that this year we have also some surprising numbers. Our farmers said they are more aggressive in planting corn this spring and probably going to cut back pretty substantially on soybean numbers. So overall, our corn estimate for the U.S. is 92.5, which is above the USDA forum number in February of 91. So that's up 1.5 million from kind of where the trade in USDA is. And our bean number at 84.5, down from 87.5 in last year's number as well. And so there's kind of reasons around why we think that's the case, but our farmers were pretty convicted about, those moves.
And Kevin, we will get more into those numbers in a moment. But first, could you tell us again kind of the methodology behind the report? How is this data collected and how do you come up with these projections?
Yeah, I mean, much like USDA, we do a survey. Ours is, mostly electronic. We do have some kind of word of mouth from, one farmer to our sales team, but we get over 2,000 farmers contributing data for this report. I believe we're probably the only firm that has that size of magnitude of farmers actually in our survey. And so it gives us very, very clear indications. We don't just focus on corn and beans, we focus on 8 principal crops. And so we get into my neck of the woods in Montana around all kinds of different crops, as well as in the South. And those things matter. So I know a lot of analysts want to just kind of look at corns and beans and the corn bean ratio and say, oh, that's going to drive the bus this year. But, it's a much more complex problem. That's why March 31st is usually a market of fireworks. And I think this year has the potential to be that as well.
And Kevin, when we look at last year and previous years for Farmers Business Network's report, how has the accuracy lined up with that USDA report? Has it been pretty similar? Has it been kind of on the right track?
I would say, we did a benchmarking of us against 26 other analysts in those 2 years, and we were actually the best forecaster of corn and beans by a fairly substantial margin. So, I don't want to say we're going to be, correct this year, but, we've certainly been directionally very accurate in the last 2 years. And so I know people will scratch their heads when they hear or see our numbers, but I can tell you we've had some shocking numbers in the past and we've been directionally accurate. So we'll see what Friday brings, Mark.
And as you mentioned, we're looking at an increase in corn acreage, according to Farmers Business Network's report, and a reduction in soybean acres. Kevin, now year to year, of course, you're going to have crop rotation that's going to change these numbers just on its own, but other factors that you're pointing to for maybe some of these forecasts that we're seeing?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, the big driver, I think, is the return of the upper Midwest farmers. Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota really handicapped last year because of really bad spring planting weather. So we knew they were going to come back strong. We see those numbers. So, roughly half of our 4 million acre increase is really in those 3 states. What did surprise us a little bit is how much conviction there was in other states, Iowa, Nebraska, all these states, didn't necessarily make massive moves in terms of corn, but pretty much every other major growing state showed an increase in corn, except for, say, Michigan and Tennessee. And so we did see, pretty clear signals there. In the South, cotton kind of didn't take as bad a beating as what a lot of people are thinking. Cotton prices have been down, but our cotton producers were saying, yeah, we'll cut back on cotton, but not nearly as drastic as what the trade looks for. And those farmers, may normally go into beans, but this year they were favoring more. It's kind of adding up all these different areas besides the I states and the core Midwest states that kind of lead us to the numbers we have.
All right, Kevin, now it's time for the $64,000 question. You're a farmer that's reading the FBN report. You now have some of this data at your fingertips. What should you be doing with this information?
I want to make sure I'm pretty comfortable in where I'm sold for new crop corn. Generally speaking, I would say this time of year with the numbers we have in front of us, I'd want to be somewhere around 20 to 30% sold. So, use this time between now and Friday to kind of get caught up. Beans, you can maybe hold back a little bit on, but I know people will say, oh, there'll be spring weather, and that's very true. There's a lot of wetness around the country that could hamper spring planting. But for the next 4 to 6 weeks, the market could really have a big tailwind from this corn number if it turns out to be true. So, get caught up on your corn if you're not necessarily forward sold on new crop.
Kevin, you mentioned that FBN's Planting Intentions Report maybe not quite in line with some of the other analysts, some of the other predictions. But for you personally, do you think this is going to line up with the USDA report on Friday? Do you think there's going to be some discrepancies? Where do you have or I should say, what are you expecting from Friday's report?
Well, my team has been doing this for 3 years, and I feel really confident in what our data says. So I'm not going to say we're going to be accurate to the decimal point, but I think there's the potential for there to be a shock from the trade. What I would say is the other thing about kind of looking at conventional trade wisdom or trade experts is that they mostly follow what USDA prints in February. And so that's where we're seeing the numbers line up on average for all the analysts. They're pretty much standing behind what USDA had in February with some minor modifications. But these reports, especially in the last few years, have had some pretty big surprises. And I think it's largely because, the world of farming in the US is much more complex than corn and beans. And most of the analysts are not getting that full, big picture view of it.
And finally, Kevin, is there anything else you'd like to let our viewers, our listeners know about when it comes to either FBN's report or looking ahead to Friday and getting ready for the official USDA report?
Well, take a look at our report if you want to. It's on our website, FBN.com. Go there and just take a look. Again, I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about beans and even corn. I'm not horribly worried about. I mean, there's still some really big demand stories, struggles with Eastern Europe. We got news today that Cargill was going to stop trading Russian wheat. And so, I don't think there's reason to be scared or afraid of big price declines. But I think in the next 4 to 6 weeks, there could be some challenges for corn. So, just get caught up on that and get those planters ready to roll.
He is Kevin McNew, Chief Economist with Farmers Business Network, our guest here today. Kevin, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and we'll hopefully speak with you again soon.
Thanks, Mark.
That was Kevin McNew of Farmers Business Network. Let's turn our attention now to the ag weather outlook. Variable cloudiness here today in the state of Iowa. It is starting to warm up a little bit, although it did take some time here this morning in central Iowa to get into a little bit better of a temperature range. And then tonight we are looking at showers and some possible thunderstorms this evening, along with some wind. Tomorrow, things don't really improve from the overnight forecast, as we're going to have chances for showers and thunderstorms across the state of Iowa. So let's see what the National Weather Service has in store now for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, variably cloudy today and windy with some warmer temperatures, although it did take a little bit of time to warm up today. Tonight, the potential for rain with showers and thunderstorms in our forecast, along with wind. Tomorrow, those widespread chances for showers and thunderstorms continue. And looking now at our affiliate weather map for Friday, Cherokee, a chance for thunderstorms, and then a chance for rain, 57 the expected high. Shenandoah, a chance for thunderstorms and breezy, then a chance for showers, high around 72. Des Moines, windy with a chance for thunderstorms and then showers, 74 the expected high. Albia, windy, a chance for thunderstorms, 74 the high temperature. Waterloo, chance of thunderstorms and breezy, high around 71. And Clinton, severe thunderstorms and breezy with a high around 68. For a more detailed forecast in your part of the state, make sure and check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook. That also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can find all of our video content and previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. Don't forget our free twice daily market podcast on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. On behalf of Riley Smith and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.